AI, because of course I'm freaked out, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's future. I'm like, we're going to come up with a business idea. And I'm like, I want you to think of something. And he goes, I think it'd be great that when our dog comes in, he wipes his paws off and then he gets a treat for doing it. So he doesn't go trampling all over the house with dirty paws. And I was like, oh, it's kind of a good idea. So, of course, I go to Claude, start doing prompts, asking questions. Within 2 hours or less, we have a plan, where to get manufacturing, a prototype, and a photo of the dog on this cool thing with these like suction cups shooting up water, and then the treat flies up and it's all animated. And I'm like, my kid's a genius. I was like, we're gonna make so much money. See, I'm already look, hook, line, and sinker. And then I call my friend. I'm like, listen to what Tate came up with. And I sent him the photo, and he's like, no dog would ever step on that pad. They don't like that feeling of the suction. He gives me, and he just like goes down the whole list. And I'm like, funny, Claude never mentioned that, because there's certain things that AI doesn't think through. And if you had that idea and I ran it by an expert or somebody that I trust, like I did, they could tell me, because you get clouded, you get like, I don't, is there something called beer goggles with business, but business goggles. And then you start to think something's a great idea, but that is something to be careful about. And also with AI, does it really know, like it can't teach you fashion trends. It can't teach you style. You might be going into a business and Claude should really be asking, like, oh, you want to start that new clothing line. What's your background in fashion? Oh, wow. No one asked me that. Do you know trends in interior design? You're developing something that interior designers would care about. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. And that's why it's important not to use AI as your strategy, but stuff for like how I use it. And I'm sure you guys could share how you guys use it, but I use it when I'm paralyzed. I'm like, I gotta come up with an idea. And now you have like writer's block. I'm sure you guys can relate. And just asking some questions to get the ball rolling, but not to replace a strategy, but just to get me thinking. It's just, especially with copy. I also love using, are you guys familiar with the tool Julius?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I use that for
I don't know if you guys have ever
data.
heard of Julius, but I use
Yeah,
that
data
for
analysis. Yeah.
charts, tables, and to look smart. And it analyzes data in a very cool way. So that's where AI is amazing. When I ask it questions, I can't do the number crunching to figure out myself. So it's funny. I have to tell you guys, I asked Claude before this podcast, what he thought about everything I was about to talk about today. And he wrote me something. I'm going to read it. Founders who pair AI execution with human strategic oversight move faster and smarter. I was like, oh. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I've trained him to tell me that. He's working
Mhm.
for Boarderline. Me. That's my spiel. We need humans to give us expert advice. Of course, that's what he told me. He wasn't going to tell me that AI is not that great. So there it goes again, right? You get told what you want to hear. So that's kind of some of my things to watch out for. But again, execution, be careful with ads. Again, a lot of those things need to be tied back to a strategy. So use AI as a tool, not as your brain.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I've seen this. Well, obviously, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT
Oh, I don't
or
hear you.
one of the others. Are you having an audio problem?
I don't think she hears us. Do you hear me, Julie?
I do now.
Okay.
Okay, you hear us both?
I don't hear David.
You don't hear me?
She doesn't hear you.
This happened last week too. All right, I'm gonna jump off and jump back on. See what happens.
Okay,
Do
sounds good.
you?
I hear him just fine. I hear you both. He's gonna jump off and jump back on really quick.
Okay.
But I don't know. Yeah, in terms of like AI without losing strategy. Are you back, David? Oh, no, he just left. Um, I feel like just as a marketer in general, strategy is something, whether it's AI, whether it's LinkedIn Live, whether it's TikTok, whether it's mail, if you don't have your strategy down, we're just spinning circles. And AI or ads are just going to make your problems worse. So it's like, you got to know your audience. You've got to know your message. Like,
Mm-hmm.
basics before you turn on things like AI or, and that's just in like one example. There's lots of different things people are using AI for, but yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know. As a marketer, I just see all the time how people want to turn on tactics like AI or, like I said, LinkedIn Live or something, mail, and they just waste money because they don't have a strategy. They don't know their goal. They don't know their message.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree
Julie, can you
more.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't have a company and
Yeah.
then go on AI and be like, hey, give me an ad campaign. And you're just whatever, when you haven't answered the common questions, like, why do people care about my product?
Right.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, Julie, most of the AIs are just trained to agree with you. And so the problem is, if you just tell it that you came up with this idea for this product, it'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me write your marketing plan, and it
Yeah.
just it doesn't really it's trying to support you, right? That's nice, but at the same time, it doesn't truly understand how to analyze, what you're trying to do to the point of, is this really valid or not? Is this really going to work? Can I actually get customers? Will anybody buy this thing? And it doesn't even attempt to make that approach, and it doesn't have the tools to do that. And so, it's just going to agree with you, and it's going to offer to write your marketing plan and do whatever else you ask it to do. And so that's challenging if you're a founder and you come up with this idea and you're asking AI to help you with it, it'll gladly help you with it, but it certainly
Yeah.
it certainly isn't going to, just because it helped you with it, and now you have all of this, all these materials made, doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be able to find a product market fit and actually scale it.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have data, right? Like there's things you can do to learn about your audience and questions you can ask. And I mean, I don't know. What would you say there, David?
There is a site, I forget what it's called. There's a site that, and it came up in conversation here once before, I think, where someone took like all of Steve Jobs'
Yep.
public information, everything that he's ever, posted publicly. Same thing with like Warren Buffett and a few others. And it's in an AI, and you can actually ask them questions and get their advice. And obviously it's all based on the historical data of what they've written in the past. But I thought that was pretty interesting. And it's kind of like the closest you can get to having an AI that would give you, advice based on fact and truth.
Well, given that we started a company here based on human advice, I saw that and had a heart attack because this is part of the founder pitfall we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
I just started thinking, is anyone going to want humans? They're just going to want these AI agents that are, what would Mark Cuban do? But then again, Mark wasn't asked the question.
Right.
The agent was. And I think we have to remember that there's something about having an individual customized moment with somebody who's using all of their experience tailored to you in a way that's nuanced and special. And I think you're just going to get the same answer. Everyone's going to get the same answer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in when it comes to an advisor or a mentor, nothing beats a real person with real experience, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Cuban's not going to be tracking me for 3 months and asking me how I'm doing and if I'm sleeping.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, hello to Steven, who's coming in from the comments from Highland Park, Illinois. We'd love to hear from other people in the comments. If you're here listening, like, let us know what you're thinking. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions and your questions? Put them in the chat and we'll bring them back up on the screen like I just did with Steve's comment. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from and what it is you do so we can make this conversation relevant for you. But on that note, unless either of you had anything else to add on AI and losing strategy, because I know we could probably talk a full hour on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To move us into what founders should know early. Could you kick us off on this, Julie?
Yeah. So when I'm talking about early, I mean, like, it is December. You have a great idea. You maybe, unfortunately, might be getting laid off due to what the current landscape. You have an idea you've really always wanted to do. So now's the perfect time, just to think about these things and know that know what to expect. One of the biggest things, because one of the things that I do is I really talk to people who are the very, very starting line and give them the guidance. And so much of it is mental. And I'm sure you guys could agree with me. But it's a roller coaster. And I tell startup entrepreneurs, like, you're going to feel excitement. You're going to tell everyone about your idea. And then you're going to have hope that it's really going to work. And then you're going to have fear. And then you're going to have envy because you saw someone else is doing it. And then you're going to have depression because you don't feel like you're going to make it. And then you're going to avoid everyone in your life that you just told you're starting a company because you don't want to tell them that you're stuck. You want people to be happy for you. And then it's more motivation and then perhaps a little more depression and no sleep. So there's a lot going to happen. And I know this sounds horrible to say to someone, but you got to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
There's going to be things that keep you up at night. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? And so having like access to, I know it's debt, but having access to some sort of capital or money you've saved for 6 months is so critical, because if you don't have money in the bank, what happens is you start to make knee-jerk decisions. You don't stick with things if they don't start working right away. You pivot too quickly. You make rash decisions. You spend money unwisely. So that's why it's really important. As somebody who has an ad agency and a startup, I made sure to have a loan first, so that while the ad agency is still running, that there is money set aside to grow this idea. Because the last thing you want to do is, hurt your current business to start a new one. And it gives you a little bit of the breathing room. And so definitely that's a big thing I have to say is that cushion. And if you're starting a new business, I hope you have a passion for it. Like if you've got out and created a vacuum cleaner that's like super robotic and better than anything on the market, you better like to vacuum, okay? Because you're going to be talking about vacuuming for like the next 6 years of your life. So make sure like your idea is tied to like some sort of passion. That your passion isn't just, get rich and have a retirement. There's other ways to do that. Make sure that you're really very passionate about it. Other things to do is think about your exit early on. Like, why are you doing this? So that you can have milestones and goals to get there. Otherwise, it's a runaway train. Know you're going to have to pivot a million times. Do not get stuck with your idea. Do not get stuck. You're going to get feedback and you're going to get different experiences along the way. And you might have to change your whole product prototype or change your website or your ads, everything, your name, because you didn't do a trademark search. Just be prepared and just know you have to be able to let go. I started in 2004, I started an e-commerce company before people were really buying online. And I was like, I'm going to build it and they're going to come. No, they're not. No one came. Okay, I got a couple sales, but I was so I was also very young at the time. And I was just so tied to my idea and what I was selling and how I was going to do it that nobody knew better than I did. And that was a big mistake. And I paid very dearly for that mistake with a lot of debt for about 15 years, the next following 15 years. But all those mistakes I made have helped me be the person I am today. So mistakes are okay. And if you mess up in the beginning, don't freak out. It's not a reflection of you. It's just maybe wrong time, wrong place. So that's where hope comes back in. Take a step, breathe. So these are my early mental advice, because a lot of it, like I said, is super mental. And also, don't wait to launch your company. Don't wait to be like an A plus. Like you're about to launch something, you're like, oh, I hate that color on my website. And then it takes 4 days for someone to go and fix it. Just launch and learn. Go slow, learn, don't blow a lot of money, see what works, and then optimize.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges founders have is not being willing to make mistakes. Making mistakes is so important. It's going to happen and you have to learn from those mistakes, but people are so afraid to make mistakes sometimes. That's never been me. I've made plenty of mistakes. But
oh my God, it's my middle name.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're not willing to make mistakes and then learn from them, then you can't be a founder. I don't know a single founder that could succeed like that. If you're afraid to make mistakes, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give is just, you have to be willing they call it willing to fail. There's a book out there, and read. I think that there's so many good books, so many great opportunities for people to learn. I think there's a lot of, founders that just jump into things. And the sort of first thing that I talk to them about is like, here are the basic books you should read. And that every founder should read in order to just sort of make sure that you don't make some of the sort of basic mistakes that you could avoid, just simply from learning from people that have made those mistakes before too. And so that's another important thing. But I think all founders go through that roller coaster you described. That's a given, and you have to know that that's going to happen. You have to be willing to accept the fact that that's going to happen. There's going to be amazing times, and there's going to be really, really rough times. That's the fact.
At Thanksgiving, I was avoiding people because I didn't want to talk about where Boarderline is at. Because I'm not personally there's stages of your company, and I feel like there's certain things that should be further along because I'm type A, but they don't know that. So it's like, and I'm going through, someone was telling me just yesterday about another website that does something, listen, being a consultant is not new. It's not a new idea. It's the way we do it perhaps is different. But when you're looking at competitor sites, don't get like, oh, why am I bothering? Just figure out a way to do it different or better. Use that, learn from what you think they're doing right, but don't. I'm so guilty of this. If I hear someone else doing something similar, I'm just like, what am I bothering? And this isn't everything. This is not just to Borderline, but you gotta stay the course.
100%. Fail fast. I'm curious.
I like that.
David.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Can't be afraid to fail.
Nope.
I'm curious, David, what you mentioned all those books. So if you could recommend a couple books, what would they be?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one book that I could recommend to every founder, if there's somebody says to me, but I never read, I'm not going to sit down and read a book. There's one book you should read. It's E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's the most basic. It's not a huge book. It's just the most basic understanding of being a founder and aligning, especially if you're a founder of a company. I guess to Julie's point, if it's something you'd love to do, and it's such a great example in this book. The example is a woman that loves to bake. She likes to bake pies. She's going to open a store called All About Pies. And because she loves to bake. That's great. But when you're opening up your own, bake shop, your own pie store, there's a lot more than just baking pies, right? You're going to have to deal with HR. You're going to have to deal with vendors. You're going to have to deal with rent. You're going to have to deal with everything, right? And you need to be prepared for the fact that you're not just going to be baking pies all the time, unless you can get everything else in place. And so, a lot of people that become founders because they love to do one thing realize they get bogged down by all the other things. And that's, and unless you can sort of attack that from the very start, a lot of companies fail because of that one thing alone.
Yeah, you might be a creator, but not an operator.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you know that about yourself, get a partner that's an operator and split the business down the middle. I'll handle marketing, you handle operations. Bring people on your team that do what you don't do that, you don't like to do it, but it's really not your area. You don't start, and then don't default to AI to tell you what to do. Really partner with people that know what they're doing. I totally agree. And I mean, at one point I was the CEO, COO, head of HR, office supply orderer. Yeah.
Yep.
You wear all the hats, and that's why marketing, the tools are really important. Like I love Gusto. Gusto does all our payroll. It's amazing. They do everything.
Yeah.
These marketing tools weren't around before. QuickBooks makes everything easy. There's so many tools that we use on our team that has really taken a lot of the burden off.
Yeah, there are some things today that make being a founder today so much easier than just
so much
5, 10
easier.
years ago. It's anybody that is becoming a founder today, starting a new business. They have opportunities that will make their life so much easier than it ever was. And you can do so much more. I mean, between vibe coding and, I mean, being able to write software, that could develop into, your MVP without having any knowledge of coding is unbelievable. Like, there's so many things that you can do today, and all the marketing tools, like Julie said, that it can enable you to launch a business today that would have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars to, just to get off the ground just a few years ago. It's a good time to be a founder.
What do you think is like the most game-changing tool, like both of you have experienced? Because I know, David, you've been an entrepreneur. I mean, you've sold business back when you were young, and you've been doing it a long time. And Julie, you mentioned doing an e-commerce business in 2004. So like since then, like what is the one game? Is it QuickBooks? I mean, because I can't imagine not having QuickBooks. Like what would you have? What is it? AI?
Gotcha.
Slack. Yep.
Yeah,
I've been
I think
slacking for a long time.
Yeah, I think vibe coding is like a game changer for launching a new business. I'm not saying that you should launch your new business from a vibe coding tool, because there's a lot of security flaws in these things. But you can build your MVP. You can build a product that works, that you can demonstrate to a client, that you can demonstrate to an investor, whatever it is, and get your first clients off the ground with it before you start really investing in, making sure that it's rock solid, and, debugging it, and actually hiring, a software developer that can do the rest of what needs to be done to make sure it's secure and things like that. But, in the past, you would have had to hire developers, and, and you're talking about months of work to get to even that minimum viable product that you can do literally in hours or days now. So
like our doggy rinse pad prototype that my son created. Yeah.
Doggy rinse pad prototype. That sounds like a story.
Well, that was the one my 8-year-old came up with. That's what Claude gave us, the prototype. Yeah. I mean, I was ready to call Petco. It was amazing, but but I also think another thing is before you start also having all these amazing marketing tools, are you asking yourself if your company, is it a company or is it a feature? Because you don't, just because you have a feature that one-ups another product isn't necessarily a brand or a company. And I think also, like, what I always ask people, what are your barriers to entry? And someone's barrier to entry can be a brand. Their brand is the barrier because they're one of 5, 6,000, 10 other players out there. But their brand and their premium and their quality and their customer service is what they lean on. When you're starting really early and have no track record, you got to be careful you're not coming up with something that somebody else could just be like, that's a great feature. I'm just going to incorporate it into my product. We don't need you. So that's why you have to really think about the long-term plan for something. And is technology going to, hurt it? Like asking myself, is AI going to replace all humans? That would suck. That's my company. So, but you have to think about these things first before you start making anything. You don't want to just go start making things like, creating and then being like, okay, I created something. Now what? I'm going to go market it. You got to take a step back and go backwards a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
We've kind of already started to get into a little bit of maybe mistakes or pitfalls, but let's transition into that a little bit. How, Julie, do you think, people or founders should go about avoiding some of these common founder mistakes?
Well, I think we've covered it as far as like not listening to experts. I think in the very beginning, people, they have the attitude, I will build it, they will come. And then they start doing their forecasting because you have to do forecasting. At some point, if you're going to even get a loan, you need to forecast P&L, whatever your revenue is going to be. And people aren't conservative enough. They are so excited and are so confident that people are going to buy because they're told, oh, the average person who has a Shopify store, sells blah, 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 conversion rates are like 2%. Oh, well, then I'll probably, yeah, like, of course, I'm going to take out a couple of ads and a million people are going to come and then I'll have like 2% of that. And like, those are my sales. And no, it's not like that. So I think you have to forecast realistically. And it comes down to your marketing budget and your sales team. You have to start there and then give yourself very, very realistic results. And then you got to find out your cost per acquisition of a customer. I mean, they talk about this on Shark Tank like every episode. It's really important because if you need to spend $1 million to get a couple hundred customers that results in $50,000 worth of sales, you're probably in a business that requires a lot of capital. So you just, that's a big thing I think that are the pitfalls. I also think that people start advertising, especially here's another one with AI, like doing an ad campaign, and you're like selling, I don't know, you're selling your new clothing line, but it's really, really just younger people would wear it, like a t-shirt with a certain message on it. But you go and you take an ad out and you don't put any filters on your advertising. And then all of a sudden, everybody and their cousin and mother are being marketed to that would never buy your t-shirt. So that's another it's like thinking that the bigger the net you put out there, the more fish you're going to catch. And no, you got to go to a small pond. You got to go to a small pond where the people who care about your product are there, and you spend efficiently, not just spend to spend. And then I also think that founders don't know their story. It's if you're, that baker you were talking about from the book, you know, the whole concept of the store or the baking could be about a story from her childhood. This was her grandma's recipe from another country, and that's the foundation to the entire baking shop. And a lot of little bakeries and stuff do well when they just zero in on one thing, like they just sell donuts, they just sell this. It's just like you're not trying to be something to everyone. You're really doing one thing really well. Um, and I also think, another pitfall is spending way too much in marketing right off the bat and thinking that if you do social media, influencer marketing, or PR, that all of a sudden your life is going to change. Not so much. It takes a long time. So, not to discourage anybody, but have your milestones and know in the beginning, all you're doing is proving your concept and all you're doing is seeing what messages resonate. We could talk about the marketing funnel. I'm sure the three of us could talk about the funnel for 3 hours. I definitely think ask Claude what the marketing funnel is, because that's really important. You got to know what stage your customer's in and what information they're looking for. And knowing that kind of pyramid will help you pick the right tools. Facebook ads aren't for everyone. You got to really know, you got to really line up the customer need, what motivates them, what's their emotional drivers, what benefit of your product would speak to them at the highest level, and then think about your features and benefits as to why someone should buy you over a competitor. Get people when they're shopping. Don't get people to start thinking about your product. If you're a high price item, you're just a luxury. If you're something where someone needs something really solves a need, then you go after the people who are shopping for it. And obviously Google search, which could be another 3-hour topic. But so, so these are the common pitfalls.
Yeah.
There's founders. Oh my God, everything that I would tell you in the next 15 minutes, I've broken all of them as a founder. So I really feel hypocritical, but it's really hard. It's really hard not to get caught up.
Yeah, I think I'm really big on what you said about having realistic financial projections. I'm super conservative there. I really recommend people make their projections as conservative as possible, because, man, it feels so much better to beat them than to miss them.
Right?
Right. And people don't always think that through. They're like, oh, well, we can, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do 1 million next year, and we're going to do 20 million the next year after that. And it's just like, that's amazing if you can achieve that. But wouldn't it be great for you to say that we're going to do 100,000 and then you do 1 million? Like, you blew away your expectations, right? Like be as conservative as possible, because if you can succeed on paper with those really conservative projections, you're going to do just fine once you beat them. And so, whereas the other way around, if you expect to do this and you do this, there's going to be a lot of heartbreak. There's going to be a lot of heartburn. There's going to be a lot of lack of sleep. Like you're going to go through everything, depression. You're going to go through all of that because you thought you were going to do so much better, and now you're trying to figure out how to survive.
And then if you do have an investor, this is a big problem because you've
Yeah.
oversold yourself because you're
Yeah.
like, well, there's 4 million people out there that would love my product. Well, yeah, but you don't have $4 million to talk to them. And to talk to each person is going to cost you 20 bucks. You know, we were not thinking like that. Yeah. I
Mhm.
conservative, I always say like, whatever you think you're going to make, drop it down a couple points, decimal, like move it over. I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, I go real low because not only that though, but I just think even if I hit this low, I still have enough money to cover my cash flow. You
Yeah.
just want to cover your cash flow. That's a win. You don't come out of the gates like, oh my God, I launched my website. No one's coming. Well, of course, no one's coming. No one knows about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's such a common mistake. I like a lot of people really just don't understand marketing. And you said to talk to 4 million people, you need $4 million. Well, a lot of this time, those 4 million people are going to require 20 impressions, 30 impressions before they actually click to buy. So it's going to be a lot more than that. No, I really appreciate what both of you said about being conservative on your projections. That's really important. But with 6 minutes remaining, were you going to say something else, David?
Nope, I just agreed with you. That's all.
Okay. Well, let's get into tech stack. So, Julie, what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack that are empowering you and your team?
Well, I think I gave away a lot of them already. Obviously, Slack since the last 9 years. Gusto for payroll, obviously QuickBooks. I use a service for where I pay a monthly fee to get legal help, and it's unlimited help, and it's a monthly fee. That to me is amazing. Figma. Everything we do is on Figma. We don't do Keynote or PowerPoints anymore. Everything is on Figma. I absolutely love it. It's a great collaboration tool. We go in there. It's great for people who are not designers who might want to just like fiddle around and like I will go in and create a really bad looking ad, but my creative team is like they get where I'm going and I'm very visual. So I like block it out like, hey, it would be great if a headline kind of looked like this and here's my mood board. And it's all in there, we're all collaborating. And the amount of time it saves is just amazing. So big Figma fan. Asana gave me anxiety, so I'm not an Asana person. I know a lot of people like Asana. I don't
I
know,
love
like visually
Asana.
I have see, it's like you either love it or you don't. I don't know. It gives me a lot of things give me anxiety though, so I might not be the right person.
Well, we got to
And then
listen to our nervous
Claude.
system.
And then there's Claude.
Yeah.
Claude. Yeah.
Claude. Yeah, I know. There's a special relationship there with Claude. Did you freeze on
And
us? Oh, no, you're still there. Okay.
and Julius for graphics, charts, and analytics. I really like too.
Yeah, I like Julius as well.
Julius. Okay. Well, we got a lot of good ones there. Thank you so much for sharing, Julie.
Mhm.
Well, this has been a really excellent episode. We got into some really great topics. But Julie, before we go, and we would like to know, would you like to let listeners know how they can find you? And also, I know you have something special up your sleeve for our audience.
Yeah, I want to do a little holiday gifting. Well, first of all, the website, which I know it's a little hard to remember, but it's the Boarderline, like board, BOARD. I think it's on the screen. Sorry, borderline.co. URLs are hard to come by. And if you actually just find me on there, just search for Julie Matzen. I'm offering a gift of 30 minutes. So we charge $150 for 30 minutes. So this is absolutely 30 minutes for free. The code is BDEX50. You use that at the checkout once you book me. Again, just type in Julie Matzen into the search bar and I'll come up. And for 30 minutes, I can help diagnose your business in the sense of like what you should be thinking about. I know I'm here to ask the questions and you're here to answer, but I think it's a great holiday gift and to get you kind of thinking about next year. So take advantage. I could probably chat more than 30 minutes, but I love to talk.
Well, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation, Julie, and I really appreciate you, making that offer to our listeners as well. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great episode, and I hope our viewers and listeners got a lot of good insight from our conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Seriously, this really was such a valuable conversation. And, as we're closing out, I just want to mention, we love having leaders like Julie here on Deconstructing Data.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we just really thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you spending time with us and being a part of these conversations that move the industry forward. And if you don't already, make sure you're following BDEX on LinkedIn. That's where we go live here every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you prefer audio, the podcast version is available on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple. Just go search for Deconstructing Data. And also, we have a special Tuesday offering. So our Thursdays are booked out through 2026. So we're opening up Tuesdays as an opportunity for businesses to come on earlier, but also to be able to promote yourself. And so we're offering, it's a $500 value and a great way to get in front of your audience without waiting months or maybe years. And we'll allow you a 30-second, clip. You can play your ad. We'll put your logo on the screen. But just reach out to us, and we would love to get you booked either down the line on a Thursday or hopefully sooner here on a Tuesday. But other than that, this was a
Very
really
cool.
great episode. Thanks again for joining, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All
All
right.
right. I'm going to close us out with the
Bye.
outro video. Bye-bye.
So
Bye.
audience members, we want to invite you to get powered by BDEX. Build authentic connections with your audience and drive unprecedented engagement. So just imagine harnessing the power of AI to craft your audiences that truly resonate with your brand, ensuring that your marketing is hitting the mark every time. We want to bring you closer to those marketing goals, and we're eager to guide you. So just visit bdex.com. You can click on the Talk to an Expert button and get powered by BDEX.